Hello, Year 7s. I'm away on a professional development day, so I'm going to be learning some new skills. But while that's happening, I thought I would go through some of the questions in your booklet to get you started with sequences. So before we did sequences, we would have been adding and subtracting numbers, and we also went and multiplied and divided some numbers. So I'm in the blue booklet, the blue algebra booklet, and I'm on page 17. So if you can turn to page 17, that would be great. Okay, so we are doing some sequences, and sequences are very similar to patterns. So let's look at this one over here. So I'm at the top of page 17. I'm looking at this sequence, and I can see there's first 2 blocks, and then what happens? Oh, well, I add another 2 blocks. So to go to the next one, I plus 2. And then to go from the second one to the third one, what happens? Well, I add 2 again. So can you guess the next 2 numbers? Yeah, I'm sure you can. It would be 8, 10, 12. Because every time I'm adding 2 to that number. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill out this table on page 17, and we're going to see what rule we can come up with, and we're going to see if we can make that rule work for any number. Okay. If you want to, you can draw the next one. So after it has 6 patterns here, the next one I could probably draw 8 little boxes there. So if you really want to, go ahead, draw yourself 8 little boxes there. And you can do that for the next one. Well, the next one is just going to have another 2 more boxes. So how many would we need? We would need 10. So you can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So this column here tells me what number of the pattern I'm in. So this is the first number in the pattern, the second number, the third number in the pattern. We call this the input. So what is the first pattern? What did I get out? Well, my area for the second one was 2 blocks. My area for the first one was 2 blocks. What about for the second one? That one was 4 blocks. 6 blocks, 8 blocks, 10 blocks. You can continue filling in that table. If I had 6 blocks, what would it be? What would be 12 that we would have there? Now, before I try and jump to 10 and 100, and some of you might be able to do that, I thought I would look at what we're doing here. So what are we doing for this one? Well, for this one, it's just whatever the input number was times by 2. That's just 1 times 2. What about the next one? Well, what was the input number there? It was 2. And how do I get 2 to become 4? Well, that's just 2 times 2. Have a look. Do you see the pattern? The next one is 3 times 2. Then 4 times 2. Yep. 5 times 2. 6 times 2. So all I'm doing to figure out what the output number is I'm taking the input number and timesing it by 2. Okay. How do I know I'm timesing it by 2? Well, because I'm adding 2 every time to the sequence. So, what happens if I had 10 blocks? Well, I should then do 10 times 2, and 10 times 2 gives me 20. I should get 20 blocks out. What happens if it's 100? Well, then it's 100 times 2, and I should get 200 blocks out. Okay, what happens if I didn't know what number it was? Okay, I'm going to use a letter N to show what I needed to do to get the output. If I had the letter N number of blocks, then my output would be 2 times whatever N is. So if N was 10, it would be 2 times 10. If N was 100, it would be 2 times 100. Okay, that's page 17 for us. Let's look at the next one. The next one is very similar to the first one, except instead of adding 2 each time, we only add in 1. I'll let you try and do that one by yourself. Okay? So page 18, I'm not going to help you with. If you get stuck, there are always answers on Sector. Okay? It's very similar to what we just did on page 17. Let's look at the next one, because things get a bit trickier with the next one. I'm on the top of page 19. So I'm on the top of page 19 of the blue booklet. Okay, let's get started. Directions. Use the color tiles to build the next 3 terms in the sequence. So we actually don't care what the shape looks like. We just care about the number of blocks. So here there were 2 blocks. Then what happened? Oh, well, we just added 1. And then here there were 3 blocks. What did we do to get to the next one? Well, we just added another 1 to get to the next one. So as you can see, they've made a mistake here. They've made a horrible mistake here at the bottom. We need to fix this. The first figure had an area of what? Well, it had an area of 2. So can you fix that in your booklet? They've mucked up so badly there. What about the next one? The second shape had an area of 3. So change that number to 3. And the third one had an area of 4. I think you can guess the next pattern here. The next number would be 5, then 6, then 7, and so on. Well, let's go ahead and fill in the table. When it was 1, the output was 2. When it was 2, the output was 3. When it was 3, the output was 4. When it was 4, the output was 5, 6, 7. So can you see what happens here? Whatever the input is, it's just 1 more. What would happen if I had 10? What would the number then be? So I'm skipping a few. Well, it's just 1 more, so the next number would be 11. What about the next one? 100. Well, again, it would just be 1 more. Oh, sorry, 1 more than 100 is not 100, it's 101. What happens if I had n? Okay, where n is any number. Well, it would just be whatever that number n is plus 1. That's the rule. The rule is n plus 1. Okay. If you want to see the process, so if you want to know how to fill in this column, okay, just think, well, we have to use the input number. So what did we do? We did 1 times 1. Oh, sorry, let me start again. We did 1 plus 1 for the first one. The next one we did 2 plus 1. Because all that we were doing is we were adding 1 all the time. Really nice and easy. Okay. Let's look at the bottom 3 questions, and then I will skip ahead to the last little thing that I want to show you. Write a sequence to describe the relationship between the area of the figure and the figure number. So, how could I have a relationship between these two? Well, I'm going to say that the area is equal to the figure number plus 1. There's a nice sentence for me. What rule can you use to find the area of any figure in the sequence? You can use the rule n plus 1. And n is the figure number. Okay. How can you use this rule to create an equation to find the area of the 150th figure? Well, we know that the rule is n plus 1. So if we're looking for the 150th figure, we would just do 150 plus 1. How nice and easy is that? Girls, with this next one, I'm going to give you a hint. Every time we actually square that number. So we times the number by itself. So for the first one, it was 1 times 1. The next one, it's actually 2 times 2, which is 4. Then we get 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, I'll let you figure out what the pattern is there. But that is page 20. I think you can do page 20 by yourself. I also think you should be able to do page 21 by yourself. Okay? I'll just give you a hint with page 21. If I was looking at this, I'm going to do the first read for you just to help you along. Okay, on page 21, I start with 4 figures, so the output is 4. Then there are 6 shapes there, so the output is 6, and then we have 8 shapes. Now I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually the same as 2 times 1 plus 2. What's 2 times 1? 2 times 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4. The next number is again 2 times, but instead of timesing by 1 now, we're going to times by 2, and then plus 2. The next one is going to be 2 times 3, plus 2 again. Because 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 would give me 8. Okay. If you can't see what's happening, I'm going to use some colors here. This is your input number. Do you see how everything else stays the same? Okay, I'll let you see what you can do to do page 21. It's a bit hard, but I think you should be able to manage it. Okay. Finally, when you get to page 22, all you have to do is follow the rules or figure out the pattern. So for this top one, you might be adding a number all the time. So I think if you add one number, you always add the same number. This next one, you always half in it. That's a bit of a hint there. So that's half of that one, half of that one, half. I'll let you figure out the next 3 terms. For the rest of page 22, all you're going to do is you're going to follow this rules and figure out what the output is. So the rule says subtract 4 from each number. So you would go 4 minus 4 is 0, 5 minus 4 is 1, and so forth. Okay, and then you follow these rules. Girls, that does it for this lesson. Those are all the hints that I'm going to give you. When I come back, I would hope that page 17 to 22 is done, and I have got answers on SEPTA for you.